We will soon be having our program on Introduction to Hypnosis. If you stick around, you will be hypnotized. If you leave, you will still be hypnotized. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, and happy Halloween. It's looking pretty scary from here. Yeah, I've got my honorary Day of the Dead shirt, and if you have difficulty concentrating, just look at the shirt. Okay, then I'm going to be sharing a couple of different things here today on the fascinating subject of hypnosis, and I go into hypnotherapy, and I'm going to be sharing a couple of different stories and some techniques, and we'll have some experientials. And ready, set, go. So as you take a deep breath, notice how your feet, as they touch the floor, some energy there. And does the energy come from you or from below via Mother Earth? It may not matter, because as you breathe, feel that energy there flowing up from below, through the feet, up the legs. And some of you might feel or sense tingling, maybe a warmth, the energies, the power, the light, the subtle flow of chi or prana going up the legs to the torso, breathing, allowing that to move up the back, up the spine, concentrating within, concentrating on the energies, subtle and energetic vibrations going up the body, up to the top of the shoulders, the whole torso, energies up the neck, to the head, to the top of the head. Breathing, and also imagining, feeling, sensing that light like a candle light above your head. Moving, warm, yellow, orange, alive, a candle. Your own spark, your spark of life and chi. You expand that out and up and over, and notice now your whole aura. Peaceful, protected, a wonderful energy focus around you. And we expand that as we breathe, expanding, and notice, yes, those other sparks, those flames of light and life and energy in this room. And we breathe and expand and fill this room. And breathing all the while, the light and love and spirit and energy. And at this point, if you have any wishes for healing, recovery, positive energy, anywhere within the body, within the consciousness, within the mind, within the emotions, this collected energy, this light, this power is here for you. Intuitively, just send this light and love and healing to whichever body parts you feel inspired to send it to. And soon you will notice an automatic deep breath. And that will be a sign, yes, aligned, attuned, and agreeing to the healing, to the improvement. And with your next deep breath, let's bring our attention, our focus back here into this room, back here amongst your fellow travelers. And welcome here, welcome back. Coming back, feeling very good. How many of you felt that energy, first of all, from your feet up the legs? How many? Mm-hmm. Most of you? Good. And how about in the middle torso and the spine? How many felt that? Yeah? Good. More than half. And how about when we went above with the light above? How many felt that? Even more. Who had a good nap? All kinds of experiences, and whether it is aware or not, whether it is conscious or not, the intention as well as the suggestions I gave for positive healing was imprinted upon the subconscious. And that's just one way that hypnosis can work. I've been doing hypnosis and hypnotic work for many decades now, and including doing live stage shows. And there's kind of a split within the hypnotic community of is that really ethical? You know, having people like walking around, you know, like clucking like chickens or something like that, you know. Well, it's pretty fun. Actually, I was into ducks, so I just went in that direction. Always trying to go into a new path, a new direction, expanding or unspanding. What I learned on the stage, and this is something very important, you know, to, let's say, the layman or someone who just has a general or even a prejudiced view of hypnosis, is that imagine those people on the stage and, you know, you make the suggestions and they're moving around and their eyes are open and they're interacting with you and with the other people up on the stage, and they're hypnotized. A lot of people just think that, oh, well, you have to just sit down nice and still, close your eyes, go inside, and then you're hypnotized. No, there's a waking hypnosis, and that's what the stage hypnotists use. There's also various ways to go into, to be induced, invited into the inner worlds where the subconscious is stronger. And that can be in a very permissive manner. It can be indirect. It can be a nice invitation. But again, with some of the stage hypnosis techniques, but also with certain, let's say, approaches of certain personalities connected with hypnotists, it can be the yang approach. It could be like very direct, sleep now. Anybody seen any things like that or shows like that? Yeah, not too many, but a few. Yeah, many different possibilities, many options on how that can happen. And when you start thinking about it, bringing it now beyond this idea that, okay, the hypnotist is going to like swing the little watch, you know. Well, that's just passe. Because you can do this. Or you can just have them breathe. But it's all a matter of like 101, maybe 1,001 different ways for us to get out of our conscious minds and to get into the intuitive power within. Our speaker today here at the church was talking about, you know, you get into the presence of oneness and then you're expanded into everything. Yeah, you can go in that direction too. And there are, you know, Hindu masters who talk about, you know, just focus upon the breath, the heart chakra, the belly, the chi. You can direct the consciousness in many different directions, but it always depends upon what it is you want. What's your goal? What would you like to get? And the bottom line in a lot of this is the majority of the world is hypnotized the majority of the time. I've written a couple of books on my experiences as a hypnotist and specifically as a spiritual hypnotherapist, working with past life regressions, but also then going into what's called transpersonal journeys, which is basically you start off in a similar way of getting a person into that intuitive state attuned to their soul. Not so easy, but it's always very close. You know, and with some people, with some personalities, it's very close. And even with some people who are like kind of tuned in with things and aligned with the divine, I'll put them into a hypnotic state and they say, well, it's not that much different than what I ordinarily understand. That's great. Good for you. But one can recognize, you go into an inner state and we have got programming. How many people here have been programmed? I expect 100% response to that. And in my second book, and I'm going to be reading from a piece of that here right now, I go into, actually with both volumes, actually started off with one big fat book. And I said that this is too big for people to read. I just divided it into half and it's all there, many different ways of looking at us as souls having our various spiritual journeys, not only into past lives, but in between lives, and having those wonderful, high experiential feelings and memories of being with the spirit guides, with the wise ones, with the elders, and partly what that was about is to discuss and attune and align with what you did in a past life. And there might have been mistakes made. Aligning it with some of the people that you interacted with in the past life who are very likely in your life today. They all get together in a group, you know, Camp Run-Amok, and decide, okay, this time around, because of this, and this as karmic issues, and these other dynamics connected to your soul group or friends or expanded spiritual community, then you're going to choose to be born, let's say, in the United States, or Mexico, or Slovenia, various places with a particular culture and language and interaction, and then you'll be born again with your soul family. And sometimes some really interesting dynamics come up with that. For instance, I wondered years ago about postpartum depression. And many people, and me too, just thinking, wow, a child is born. You just gave birth to a child, and you're bummed out, you're having emotional reactions, and what's that about? Well, I had some opportunities to talk with the souls telling me about the past lives, and that particular child that just came in murdered you in a past life, or vice versa. And when you take a life, you have to give a life. And so, on a conscious level, it's like, oh, my baby, and have a family, and, bambini. And, but then on a soul level, it's like, I remember that soul. Oh boy, did we get into it. That's a bummer. And then comes the depression. Now, I'm not saying that that's true or that happens with all cases, but that's what I have found, many times. So it can go in many different directions, all very fascinating. But let me start off then with the sense of all the different ways that we can be programmed, and I'll put it under the larger umbrella of hypnosis. But you'll see, you'll recognize that it sounds a little bit more like education, family values, indoctrination, religious tenets, all of these things. And now the important thing is to recognize that we have, of course, our awareness, our everyday awareness. And we're bringing that right here, right now, and how much of our, firing power is here right now of, like, are you semi-sleepy right now? Are you full of energy? Are you really focused? Yeah, it wavers, it goes up and down, Sometimes we're a little bit more aware than at other times, okay? But if you take a look at, starting off as a child and how children, they learn so quickly, so easily, and they can be very malleable. And very soon, within age 3, 4, 5, they're like little adults copying what they're seeing. But they learn so quickly. Now, they also simultaneously have got their own personalities outside of what they're being taught. And then some past life dynamics and issues, and sometimes very strong emotional reactions that they're also bringing into their family, into that personal life, which helps to explain why within a family you can have like 3, 4, 5 siblings, same parents, same town, same religion, but they're all very different kids. They've had different experiences. They're coming from different directions, and that stew that we call a family is right there to concoct and cook up a perfect little storm that's going to be dealing with some of those past issues that we dealt with, some of those present things that can be stimulated today in our lives, and striving to heal, to bring it to conclusion, to bring it into a fulfillment, so that we can get to that point in a karmic relationship. And a karmic relationship has a charge to it. And think of it as electricity, negative or positive charge. Okay, because you'd be really pulled to someone. Where have you been? And that's also a karmic charge. That is pull. But it can be many times a negative thing, and that's the heavy side of karma. Karma is not always negative; it's can be very positive. But that charge, is kind of like there even within the family and the family dynamics. And when we get to that point where we get to a neutrality. It's like, oh, I can see you, I don't have to see you, I love you, you can be living next door to me, you can live in another country, you're always here, phone call away. That's when you get to the place where you probably did the past karmic work, the healing, and you're now both fine. But when you're still thinking about that person, you even haven't seen that person in years, and you start gritting your teeth. Says, oh, I remember you, Well, you still got that negative karma, right? It's still a charge, and you have to work that out. And there's, sometimes you can consciously do it and say, oh, may I work it out in my meditations because I don't want to meet that person again. But it also can be, okay, well, we got some stuff to work out. Shall we talk? Shall we, get some therapy or something? But again, as a soul, you can start the healing process right here, right now. So back to the original idea here from my book 2, Inner Journeys, Cosmic Sojourns, the 9 ways that we can be influenced and hypnotized. How is it coming to us, and what is going to get past our kind of protective, where are you coming from? Are you okay? Are you going to hurt me? Are you on my side? Are you against me? Remembering that children are pretty open, so a lot can get in, both positive and negative. And the number one way that one can be influenced with the unconscious, larger umbrella of hypnosis and hypnotic influences, but this is, it doesn't sound like hypnosis. Number one way is through authority, an authority person. Of course, those first authorities is, mom and dad. And then later on, it's going to be the teacher, policeman, politician. Oh no, forget politicians. And authority figures of various sorts. And because of that position, it bypasses the protective subconscious imprints. Because they're bigger, stronger, wiser than me. Okay. Watch out for them. Number 2, repetition. Let me repeat that. You hear it again and again and again. You've heard the slogans, the things either at church or the things that, your parents used to say, and I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. Repetition, it goes in, and at first, of course, it's like, oh, what a strange sentence, what a strange notion. But if you hear it again and again, boom, 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 imprinted. And then you look out there into the large, wide world, and especially now into our conspiracy theory world, imprint and repetitions. And again, it doesn't sound like this is hypnosis, but these are doorways, openings that every good hypnotist will use. They will be the authority. They will repeat. Number 3, emotions. When you are in a particular emotion, you are not using the rational mind. It bypasses the consciousness of the critical thinking of that particular protective doorway that we all have and we all should be using, so that we can hear something, even something new, and it sticks to our gateway. You say, shall you pass? That's an alternative fact. No, you shall not pass. How many times do we really exercise that? but through emotions. It goes right into the gut, right into the heart, into the feelings. You know, it's like it doesn't matter if it's rational or not. It's like, I feel it, I should react. I have to protect my country. Right? You're hypnotized, imprinted emotionally. Then we have peers. And right here in this room, we're amongst our peers. But also when we were in elementary school, first grade, second grade, third grade, we were with our peers then also. And there's this conformity instinct that we all just want to be part of the team. We all want to be accepted. We all want to be like, you know, I like you. Do you like me? Do you like? No, I like you. Oh. Peers connecting, and then comes the group mind, the group think, because we all want to be connected, right? Yeah, conformity. Yeah. There was this woman who had just turned 100, and one of the investigators, one of the newspaper people, asked her, "Okay, congratulations, you made 100. What's like one of the best things about being your age?" And she says, "No peer pressure." And then we have tradition. Tradition, it's just been handed down from generation to generation. My grandpa did it, my great-grandpa. It's just, that's how it is. Again, yeah, you're not thinking again. It's, you know, it goes right through the doorway, okay? Right through the protective doorway, and, well, that's just what we do. It has stood the test of time. And then I have to stop and say, well, war has been around for a long time. Is that a tradition? No, just because it's a tradition, we do not have to accept it. And that's important. Again, choose for thyself tradition. Then there's kind of a subtle way. It's an indirect way, which makes it more interesting to me. It's called linking. Two ideas or situations linked, sometimes obviously, sometimes not so obviously, but with it then comes a suggestion or an imprint. And for instance, you're just like your dad. There's the link. And perhaps what was intended was, oh, your dad is a very clever fellow, he's funny. But what the child knows is that dad has these anger issues. But it's linked, okay, into a package. And it's like, my country, right or wrong, you know, well, you can be patriotic and say, yeah, you know, my country 'tis of thee. But then we've got a pretty poor international track record. You know, lots of interventions and things like that. So again, back to that, as well as to many of these other things, use your head. Think. Don't let it through the gateway so quickly. Measure things, weigh things. Linking oftentimes is connected to emotions. I've already mentioned how powerful emotions were. But this linking, you know, can bypass that just with that association. Then we have imagination. And again, when you think about kids and how imaginative they are, and we're now going to sit over here, but it's actually a magical bus ride, and we're going to fly into the rainbow sky. Yeah, okay, and kids could be right there, you know, and they're gonna talk to the goldfish. And that is fun, and that is powerful, it's entertaining, but it is also mixed. bit of imagination, which, by the way, isn't true all the time, because you can go anywhere with imagination. If you mix that with a little bit of Madison Avenue manipulation, well, the imagination can go over there too, and boy, I feel like I need to have some fast food right now. I want to have it my way. Then we have role, the role. And it's the role that you can have and be, and with it comes a couple of other different things, like accessories to a particular plan. Here I am now in front, on the stage, on a podium, in a church, minister, and that's a role. And with that, I'm glad I'm here at the fellowship, because a minister here is really quite open to many different possibilities. Many different religions have got their truth, and we honor many paths, and that's why I'm here. But there could be another role, another pulpit, and you step up to that role, to that position, and in the package is the whole thing. There's a couple of different interesting stories. I think George was telling me about that other fellow who was talking hellfire and damnation, and then he had a personal transformation and he felt like love, and no, there is no hell. How did his congregation handle that? They kicked him out. Get out of here. When you get married, that's a role. And sometimes when you almost innocently say, I do, along with it comes, I do like they do, like Dad did. We're back to the linking idea. But also into kind of like the national, international, and in religious sense of what does this marriage mean? For a long time, and it's only changed basically in our lives, it was the man up here, the woman down here, woman in the kitchen. It was innocent, I do, I'll marry you, but along with it came a package because of the role. Again, we have to examine everything. That's what the ancient Greeks were telling us. Examine everything. And you can't use the let's say the storyline that they did in the Nuremberg trials. And they said, well, we were just following orders. Wow, it was just my role. How about that? Well, that didn't, set very well, and they actually ruled against that idea for those individual soldiers who were obedient, following authority figures, being very emotional, following tradition, and having their particular roles all mixed together. You see how complex this can all be. And then the ninth way and the last way and the most honest way of all of this is the path of hypnosis. And hypnosis is, instead of just like, we're going to bring you to Sunday school, we're going to have you in the third grade class, I want you to go to this Patriot meeting over here. All of that is, semi-indirect. But when you go to a hypnotist, you will say, I want to get, I want to work with you and get past, some of the things that's been imprinted in me and some of the reactions, the emotional reactions I had from being hurt 10 years ago, which imprint, and then there's a kind of an onion layer stuckness right there. And so the hypnotist would use all these different ways to get a person out of their minds and into the powerful subconscious that can do amazing things. You know, like when people are in a emergency situation and they have suddenly great power of strength. Where did that come from? Many anecdotes, many stories about that. But that's just another interesting example of that, of what can happen with the subconscious, as well as spontaneous healings. Now, some people can say, oh, that came from the grace of God. And yes, that can happen and does happen. And it also can come from the power that you have within yourself when you believe, when you are imprinted with, yeah, I can heal that. I can move on now forward in a new, healthier self, a new, healthier me. And that can be like a mini miracle right there for you, implanted and inspired. So I expect that to also. And I have found that many times. And sometimes it's almost like a secondary thing, because some clients will come to me and they're just interested in a past life. And they say, well, I do have kind of an interest in French. I don't know where that came from. There's nobody who speaks French in my family. And then, of course, then we'll have a past life regression, and there they were in France. No big surprise. You know, that's where it came from. But it also can be, I have this fear of swimming. But I grew up in Nebraska. I was never by an ocean, but the big, deep waters scare me. Well, where did that come from? If it didn't come from this life, and that's what I do as a hypnotist first. I first of all look, did anything happen in this present life? Let's deal with that first. If nothing's there, then okay, let's go further back. And oftentimes that's when we'll find those near-death experiences, or actually death experiences. And when a past life personality is not satisfied with how things ended, and they say, that was over a little bit too quickly, or that was an unjust way to have me offed, they will stay and fume after death. And then we have ghosts. Spirits that stay, that linger, that brood. And now we have Halloween.
I have a question.
Yes.
Suppose you have within a past life, and do you think that person that died would come back and haunt you as a ghost if they didn't like how they died? Even though you're not them, except you are them because you carried in that past life.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I mean?
I do. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be in a past life. It could be also in this life too, if there were some issues and dynamics or things not finished in this life, and then that person dies and passes away. They can come back, and they could.
I know they're coming back, but I mean your own past life. Do those come back?
Yeah. Yes.
As ghosts?
No.
That's what I thought.
No. But your past life personality could be so strong that it can simultaneously be with you alive right now. Yeah. I've got a story in one of these books about a young man who I met in California who was in the security business, and he died in World War II as in the Pacific as a pilot. And he was hit, crash landed into an island, and then the Jap Nazis came, and he was going to stay by his men, even though they had died, and he stayed on that little island in the Pacific ever since 1943. Wow. And I was talking to him in the 80s, and So they're both simultaneously there, you know. And so he told me that when he was a boy growing up in California, he would build these model airplanes. And it had to be particular types of airplanes. Guess which type? World War II fighter planes, right? He would build them and crash them into a make-believe landmass, build another one, paint it up, and crash it for fun. His past life personality was still with him today. And when I got him outside of his regular personality consciousness, that other personality came right here because it was close the whole time. He was in the security business, remember? He's going to stay by his men. That personality came right there, and I had a tough time dealing with it because he was still quite angry 50 years later. And to get him to say, you know, could you back off to give your present personality an opportunity to live his life? Even though, of course, some of the dynamics in his present personality was set up because that needed to be healed. Wonderful, wonderful thing. There's more associations to that particular story. Yes?
I want to mention that there is a Hawaiian word for that part of your soul that stays connected to the earth. They call it uni-ipili.
What's that name?
Uni-ipili.
Uh-huh.
I just thought that I'd throw that out there since you just came back from Hawaii. But my question I wanted to ask you was, in your opinion, what is the difference, if there is one, between meditation and hypnosis?
Yes, but the difference between meditation and hypnosis. Well, as I have explained and described, there's many ways, right, that one can go into a hypnotic state, you know, and have things imprinted. With meditation, it's more of a narrow focus of what you want to do, but you still want to get to that peaceful place, get outside of your conscious mind, you know, and from there you can, you know, and there's many different techniques on hypnosis. You can go into the lotus field, you can go into the heart chakra, you can go into a nirvana state floating in the clouds. But remember, all of that is still directed. Get out of your conscious mind, get into that open space, which is what a hypnotist would want you to do. And then the other technique with many types of hypnosis is, okay, now you focus upon the flame, now you focus upon your breath, the chi. It goes in different directions, but you're still wanting to get that focus. And this is an interesting point, so thanks for that, Carrie. Because basically when you really do a laser beam focus in an unconscious state, in a hypnotic or a meditative state or an expanded mystical experience state, it is a laser beam focus on a particular thing, and that can open up doors. And as I said, that could be like the lotus flower, that could be your heart chakra, whatever, but also with like a hypnotic thing, we're focusing upon a relevant past life that's going to be important for you to understand today. And that is like a focus beam that we're going to follow, we're going to track that back. And that's a key thing here. In fact, even the word hypnosis means sleep. And when they first started using that word back in the 1820s, 1840s, it looked like it. You know, but as I had said, you can be wide awake, you can be in a stage show, and you're hypnotized. You can go to the polls and vote, and you can be hypnotized. The word hypnosis does mean sleep, and they thought it was sleep, but then after a while, this is by the 1850s, you know, they said, it's not sleep. This is monoideism was one of the words that they wanted to use. Mono, one idea, one focus, one laser thing, to the exclusion of everything else, and then you are in a trance. And that's why they have that little watch It's one thing. That's why you can focus upon the flame, one thing. That's why you can follow your breath, one thing. Monoideism. That tunnel in which you focus and say, when you're in that place, and then you kind of like hang out there, kind of float there, you can be in nirvana. You can just like, wow, this is really nice. But it could also be, I'm taking things in, I'm ready for imprinting, thank you. Remembering that we've already been imprinted many times growing up. First of all, part of what I do is like, let's unprint, let's delete those old issues. Sometimes I compare it to one of those viruses, malware, and basically a computer virus is a very small program with perhaps one idea, and that could be, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Rolling. Where'd that come from? I think that was my mother said that. But to get into that point, how many mini virus programs were running in anybody at any particular time? I've talked about the many different ways that people can be hypnotized, and that the majority of the world can be hypnotized the majority of the time. So I've done many deprogrammings. Let's find that particular virus, delete, let go, replace it with something better. Yeah. Okay, so now that I've given you a superficial beginning of hypnosis, because it can go on and on, let's have a experiential and allow yourself to get into a nice state and kind of choose something. It could be emotional, it could be a physical thing, it could be a desire for the future, it could be like, what's your goal, what would you like to have, let's say in 2 years, 5 years. Just choose one particular thing. Maybe your back, my left side, my left leg, that could use some extra love and healing. Just choose one thing, okay? Just consciously choose a thing. And now, following my voice, we're going to take a little journey. We're going to go into the power within. The energy, the light, the love, the power within. And as you breathe, allow any extraneous ideas, just notice them and allow the autumn wind to blow, and a nice little wind just blows them away, and they go off with the autumn leaves. And the sun is shining. The sun, as above, so below. The sun shining, that light in the center of our solar system. And as you breathe, feel within you your own sun, your own light, an orb, a light, a sphere of warmth and energy. And some of you might feel that more towards the head, or maybe the heart, perhaps the solar plexus, or maybe you are enveloped in that warm light sphere, and it's your whole aura. The sunlight in our solar system greets your own solar light within. And you breathe, and there is a wonderful resonance of your light radiating out, and the great sun of our solar system radiating back to you. Warmth, light, energy, power. Breathe it in now. Breathing it in. The light, your own sun, your sphere, your energy, your own orb, right there. Breathing, feeling it. Be with it now. Know that it is a spark of God. You are a spark of God. And with the next deep breath, what image, symbol, or message does your soul want to give you? With the next deep breath, be open, be aware of a image, symbol, message. Breathe now. Good. Breathing, breathing. Feel the warmth, the light, your own solar energy, soul. And while we collect the warmth and the heat and the power and the divine, and if there's any healing you wish, any body part, it could be emotional healing, particular person or incident. Feel the heat, the warmth, your own solar vibration. And there will soon be a solar flare. A solar flare focusing upon that particular part or issue. With the next automatic deep breath, it will be a solar flare moving towards that issue, that goal, that desire. And let's now be with your own solar warmth, light, sphere, your essence. Just be with that for the next 2 minutes. Breathing, floating, feeling the energy. And within the 2 minutes, you can sense more healing and power to other issues and desires. With the next 2 minutes, just kind of float there, be there, enjoy it. Now. be feeling the energy, the heat, light, inspiration. Finding your own center where you have full choice about your life and decisions and path. And so, thank you, Spirit. Thank you, light, love, and healing. And let's bring this good energy back here into the present time and place. And coming back now, knowing that in your meditations, also as you go off to bed, you can use some similar techniques to get yourself into these power places and use it as you will. Okay, so that's an introduction to hypnosis today. Glad that you came. Any other questions? Anything that I said or did not say?
How much do your hypnosis sessions run?
I typically charge $98 an hour, and it could be, depending upon the situation, it could be 2, 3, 4 hours recorded. Yeah. Some people have several sessions because they start off with past lives and then they want to find out in between lives later. Yeah, you can compare it with taking a trip to the Bahamas. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, then thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.